Hey, I hope you're doing well. Sorry for the bit of a delay in uploading. My life has just been mental at the minute with work and then like professional qualification as well. I've got like studies to do. It's just been, yeah, mental at the minute. So I've been working on the build video, but it's going to need a little bit longer just because it's not quite ready. I don't want to put it out half baked. But yeah, it's in the works if I can find time this week, hopefully within the week, but I really don't know. That's the main reason that I'm actually doing this solo jam right now is because I kind of just don't really have the time to put up anything other than this. This is quite a simple thing for me to do, just little recording, and I put some voiceover over it. But yeah, I wanted to do it for this build specifically because I think this one might be a while away, just because I've got the one I'm doing at the minute. The build is a Titan one, and then I have, I think, a Warlock build that I want to put together just because it's been a while since I've done anything for Warlocks and kind of want to show the class some love. I like to try and split my time between the classes equally, and then yeah, maybe this build. That said, I enjoy using this build so much that I might just say sod it to the Warlocks and do this because it's just, oh dude, it's such a cool build. I honestly thought when I first put this together that it was going to be not that good of a build. I actually thought going into the video, when I was going to start doing the script writing for this, that I was going to have to start it off being like, hey, this build is one that is definitely like a bit more of a fun, jokey build. You know, don't expect it to kind of like keep up with the top meta stuff. Honestly, after using the build and getting used to playing it a little bit, I'm like on the complete opposite end of the spectrum now. This thing is ridiculously good, man. It is still niche, it's, you know, off meta, and it's doing it's doing weird stuff, a lot of ignitions and dodges and melees and yeah, all of it. Like what it does is weird, but it keeps up so well. Like I've been using this in, again, what you're seeing right now is a solo jam, but just when I was running this with teammates as well, I was like consistently getting double the amount of kills they were. Not even like going out of my way to like go after kills. It was just the build was so efficient at doing stuff that yeah, it was doing amazingly. The build itself is really something that works because not that long ago Bungie made a change to Stylish Executioner. Originally, the bonus 300% damage that you get would only trigger on melees if they were used like right in front of the target. I'm talking like you had to be breathing down the neck of an enemy in order for you to get the damage bonus. That's why you only really saw people kind of get the damage bonus with combination blow. That's obviously the main thing people think of when they think of Stylish Executioner and that 300% damage bonus being useful. In the past, now, present day, the change that Bungie made is that ranged melees get this 300% damage bonus. So long as, you know, you're actually meeting the requirement that Stylish has, where you have to be using the melee from invisibility, yeah, you get the damage bonus. It doesn't go for like infinite range. I'll try and explain it because I don't think I did very well. Like if you throw the melee and then it say was to travel 50 meters and then hit an enemy, that doesn't get damage bonus. But so long as they're like decently close, you know, close enough, it'll get the damage bonus, which is really nice because it means something like what you're seeing in the background here, Withering Blades, or the other probably best one I would say to be used would be Threaded Spike. Those work really, really well. But the one thing which they didn't kind of explain, I suppose, when they were talking about this in the patch notes, is how, actually maybe it was just like an unintended consequence, you know, little side effects, but when you throw out the melee, if it is going to kill something, and because in this case it's Withering Blade, so it's applying slow. Slow being a debuff, and that then being the requirement to go invis off of stylish. If that melee hits and kills an enemy, any bounces afterwards then get damage buff because you would have then been invis, and the game goes, oh, it's a melee that's being used from invis, we need to damage buff this by 300%. So you don't need to be using melees going out of invis in order to get damage bonus, so long as you throw that melee, it kills an enemy, and then you go invis, mid-air, that melee gets damage buffed. Which means that you are getting some ridiculously... Actually, man, that's... Maybe I'm being a bit hyperbolic. Ridiculously high damage? Yeah, not ridiculously high damage. But high damage enough that you're going to be killing stuff consistently with your melees. And that is why, as you can see, the ignition's going off a lot more consistent from Spirit of Caliban. That is one of the class item roles that I have, because it is so good alongside stylish. It just becomes so consistent, and the fact that these things are getting damage buffed mid-air, again, just means that you're not having to play around, oh, I have to go invis and then I have to melee. It's really not that. It's much more just kind of like throw melees out, and you're very consistently going to be getting ignitions, because so long as one thing dies, again, damage bonus to the melee for like the entire thing. Just as long as you go invis on that first kill, or even if it then bounces again a second kill, it's still worth it. As for the other perk, I was using Spirit of the Coyote here, just because the entire... Sorry, I shouldn't be explaining that perk first, because it kind of doesn't make sense without understanding Winter Shroud. With Winter Shroud, whenever you slow enemies, I think for 3 seconds you get... I haven't checked in a while. I think it's something like 300% increased class ability regen. The entire idea being that Withering Blade's obviously slow. That's kind of like the verb that they apply. So then you're slowing a lot with all the melees, and then that's going to be giving you a load of class abilities back. And then with Spirit of the Coyote, which is your second class item perk, you then basically get an overflow of ability energy, quite a lot to the class ability. So you just get so many melees. You can kind of tell from the background how many melees you're getting. It's a lot. And yeah, it's just a really nice combo. Loads of melees, melees slow. Slow goes back into giving you class ability energy. Class goes back into giving you melees. Kind of rinse and repeat that combo. And yeah, that's kind of like the main gist of the build. Although, I gotta be honest, the thing that is like the mesh of the build, the glue, it's honestly Bastion. This gun has been so impactful to letting this build really thrive. And I mean that. It's like night and day between using this gun and not using this gun. It makes such a difference. At those times where the build kind of, say, can't get a kill with the melee, just being able to absolutely gun something down with Bastion, and this thing absolutely shreds health. I'm talking like it can consistently, in kind of one stun, take out things like unstops, overloads, barriers. It's ridiculously efficient, but it then also has a kind of like 1-2 punch effect if you land the full kind of 3-round burst. So then your melees are getting damage bonus. Again, I probably don't have to explain at this point why that's a good thing. But then when you land a melee as well, you damage buff the gun. Again, probably don't have to explain why that's a good thing. You're seeing how many melees are going off. It just is so consistent in the build. I really just found myself not having anywhere close to the amounts of success I was with any other gun. And yeah, for other things in the build, obviously Gambler's Dodge, you've seen that. I have to say, one thing that I could do better with the build, it's something I still need to kind of figure out before I actually make the build video on it, but I don't think this setup that I'm using at the minute, or at least these weapons, are all that good at building into Transcendence, and that's something that is just really good in the build because, again, more melees, more slow, more class abilities, more melees, more ignitions, just more of all of the stuff that you want happens inside of Transcendence. And again, you can, like, this is a perfect example. You can see, like, how lagging behind my light bar is compared to my dark bar. Obviously, Withering Blades are just giving you loads of Transcendence energy, so, you know, you don't ever have to think about that. But it's really that light bar which you do have to focus on a bit. And you only kind of really get that in your special and heavy weapons. I could probably put something that's a bit more efficient in the energy slots, but my reason for using the crossbow is that it has got chill clip on it, and then chill clip, again, slow. Jesus, sorry, something got caught in my throat. Is slow, so then that's going to give you bonus class ability regen from Winter Shroud. So there's kind of a synergy there that I really liked. And not that you need it because... Oh my god, what's the name of the gun? Bastion, because Bastion has baked in Unstop stun. But yeah, there's also Unstop on, or at least, yeah, Unstop bow at the minute, which, again, nice for Unstops. And yeah, that's kind of why I would be hesitant to take the crossbow off, just because, again, chill clip, it's something that's really nice to have. So yeah, I'm kind of just going to reserve that energy spot for light guns. I'm just going to have to see what works and what doesn't, but that is the only thing I think I could do a bit better, is my light Transcendence. I could maybe get that back from using a different super. I'm using Tether in the background, but the only thing with Goldie is that Stylish Executioner and Winter Shroud only has 4 fragment slots, and the fragments that this build runs, I feel like it really needs to run them, and Facet of Dawn isn't one that I think is mandatory in the build. So yeah, you're kind of not getting Radiant from anywhere. If you did want to put Facet of Dawn in, maybe, again, it's just one of those things where I've really got to tinker, because the only reason for me wanting to use Goldie would be giving me good light Transcendence energy, and honestly, I'm kind of looking at Storm's Edge more than I am Goldie as a way to get light Transcendence. It's, I mean, every light super pretty much, actually I'd say that, every super basically guarantees a full bar of whatever Transcendence it is filling up. But yeah, Storm's Edge is a seriously, seriously good one for Transcendence. Like, you throw it into group of ads once, and yeah, that's like entire Transcendence bar charged up. So yeah, that's the only thing I have to think on a bit, kind of play the build a bit more, tinker around with it a little, is, yeah, that Transcendence. 4 fragments in the build. It is Facet of Hope for bonus class ability regen, whilst you have an elemental buff. You're going to have Invis in the build quite a lot. You're going to have Void Overshield, or actually I say Void Overshield, just whatever elemental buff you have from Facet of Purpose, that's your second fragment. You're also going to be using Facet of Protection. You can see this build kind of gets decently up close, and it doesn't have any kind of sort of damage resist in the build, so yeah, it's nice to have. And then you've also got Facet of Blessing as your last. That is one which is really needed, just because, again, you haven't got DR, and outside of that, you also haven't got healing. I just want to say, specifically for this recording, I was aiming to get this as something I can actually stick inside of the build video. And whenever I make those videos, I try to... why did I say it like that? Videos. Whenever I make the build videos, I try to have them be as evergreen as possible, which means that I was actually leaving out of this build Power from Pain. Whenever you use this build normally, because you have Invis in the build, and that is a Void buff, you're then able to apply Weaken from your melee, and then spread that Weaken with the final column perk, which I can't remember the name of. Void Infestation. You can then spread Weaken with Void Infestation, and then get Devour through that. But for the build, I don't want people to be watching that in, like, I don't know, let's say a couple months when the new expansion comes around, and they go, oh, how have you got Devour in this build? I don't know how to get Devour. So yeah, this at the minute is missing Devour, but specifically because I was recording. Otherwise, expect to get HP chunked every single time you kill something. Like, it becomes a lot more tanky. But I think testament to the build strength that it is able to do what you're seeing right now, what you've watched throughout this entire thing, without having to rely on seasonal artifacts. That's one thing I try and avoid with my videos as much as possible, is basically builds that exist entirely from the artifacts, just because I don't really think that they're stable, steady builds that you can rely on all the time. So yeah, that's my reason. I was using the weakening part of the artifacts and the void infestation again, just because I don't think those ones have like a massive impact in the build. But yeah, I mean, just Devour cropping up out of nowhere, I 100% know that's something that people would question and wonder about, which is fair enough, so left it out. Other reasoning on stuff. Grapple is here just because its final blow counts as a power of melee, so it can trigger Caliban. It's really nice. Annoyingly, when I was recording this, I didn't actually have the build that optimized. I think I actually just chucked on some random bits of armor so I could get the smoke jumper 4-piece. Not that your armor sets are kind of anything all that crazy in the build, like none of them have some massive bearing on your setup, like something like Sage Protector, for example. The armor set is very flexy, but yeah, I had just chucked it on, and I hadn't really looked at the armor mods that much, which is something that I've since changed. I changed up my stats, I cut how much I had in class stats, I think, but just by a little bit. It's still sat at, I think, 98 now on my version of the build, which unfortunately I can't show here because this is just a kind of a recording of the GM only, and not any changes I made to the build afterwards. But yeah, I made a couple tweaks to the mod setup. I think a melee damage resist, a harmonic ammo, actually no, some kind of different changes. Nothing too impactful. What you're seeing here is still going to be pretty much exactly like what I'm using now, just, you know, little quality of life tweaks and changes, like maybe a little bit more damage resist from maybe something like 2 melee damage. Even now, I'm not too sure. I just know that I did change it. Yeah, I'm trying to think what else I'm using. I think that's pretty much it, to be fair. On the mods, the only thing which does have a real impact in the build is triple heavy-handed on the arms. You don't make that many orbs, but when you do make them, they're really helpful. Again, the ways that you're staying alive is basically Faceted Blessing, giving you, not restoration, but just like restoring your health. It triggers health regen when you get a melee final blow, which is really nice. And then Faceted Purpose, giving you an elemental buff. Those orbs really are there for Faceted Purpose. That's the big reason that you've got them. I'm almost tempted to take off on the legs double recuperation. That is something that I was running just because I was worried about how much healing I have in the build. But I think it's one of those ones where I'm kind of, or at least what you're seeing right now is me getting used to the build. I think now that I'm a little bit more confident with it, I could probably take them off and put something on where I'm not having to rely on getting healing on picking up orbs. Just because I think, like, I understand the limits of the build a little bit more now. I kind of understand what it can do and what it can't do, and kind of how far I can take it. And yeah, you know, if I don't need the healing, I would rather stick that into, say, ability regen from something like Absolution, or I think Insulation is the one that gives class regen on pick up an orb. Just I don't think I need the healing now that I've kind of gotten used to the build a little bit more. And again, also, if you're using this as you would be normally, or at least as you would be normally this season, you have Devour, and at that point, you're ridiculously tough to kill. And again, you're only making orbs if you are killing things, at which point Devour is just giving you better healing, better grenade regen. So, yeah. Use Devour whilst you can. I already explained why, but yeah, it's it's really, really good if you're using Devour at the minute. Otherwise, I think that is it. Yeah, not really that much to talk about. I guess I might as well just talk about things outside of the build, just stuff that's going on with the channel at the minute. I'm working on a Titan build. Like I said at the start, it's in progress, just kind of waiting for it. But that's a really cool Sage Protector build. I know I've been absolutely just spamming Sage Protector setups, but they're just some of the most fun that you can have in the game at the minute. The ability spam, they're really efficient, and yeah, this is a stasis one. And I did a WoW stream a little while back just to kind of test it and see how it went, and I showed it off. I think it was actually in this gem, and yeah, it was doing really well. And then the Warlock one is a cool prismatic build. Anyway, that's the run over in good time. I did actually want to come back and try get a sub 20 minute of this run, but it then rolled over into like the next day's modifiers, and they were just ones that were horrific, like Chill Touch, just everything that slowed you down. For the build, yeah, sorry. Deadshot, Gamblers, Withering, Grapple, Stylish, and Winters, and then Hope, Blessing, Purpose, Protection. And then those are my stats. Again, I've tweaked that a little bit, so less class, I think almost 100, and then more grenade stats, I think I did. There's my armor set, which is Smoke Jumper, but armor set I don't think will be that fixed in the build. That's Bastion, and then, yeah, Chill Clip there to have synergy with Winter Shroud. And then these are the mods. I think I changed... I really can't remember, to be honest. Oh well, when this comes out in a build video, you'll see exactly what I changed it to, but tinker yourself for the time being. And then that is the seasonal artifacts. Again, I'm not using the one that gives you Devour, but yeah, that's one I'd 100% say you should be running. Anyway, that's about it from me.